Jannita and Shenae's weekly video. This week we're talking about one of the hottest products in the Silky range, the Big Boy. Sorry girls, it's all about boys today. We're going to be talking about everything there is to know about a Big Boy. If you're thinking of buying one of these products, there's 4 of them to choose from, so we're going to give you the ins and outs on why you choose one over the other and all the technical aspects and pretty much everything we know about the Big Boys. That's what we're going to be talking about. So that's what I'm actually going to be sort of mainly doing, and Shenae's going to try and interrupt me where she can. Yeah. And you're going to tell them...
I will be showing you how to change a blade. So say you do buy a fine tooth blade, you can purchase a large tooth blade and you can fit it into the same handle. So I'll be showing you that one and the little case that goes with it.
And then at the end of the video we've got another promo, so watch till the end if you can bear with us and find out about that one too. So we're going to get straight into it. Big Boys, as I talked about, this is the topic of the day and it seems to be the topic of the season. They have just been so popular. We've been selling, well, not just us, we've got people all over the country that sell these. They've been selling them to people that do survival, people that are just home gardeners.
Bike riders as well, people who like to adventure out bush as well, cutting down large limbs, branches, you name it. Yeah, so many
different people are buying these at the moment. But it's good to know which one, because as we mentioned before, there's 4 of them, and I've probably done it the wrong way. Oh, you've got it. No, we're gonna do a swapsy here to make it easier for you. You're gonna have that one. I'll take this one and have that one, and then we'll switch hands. Totally organised here.
There we go.
Okay, so Shenae's gonna swap hands too.
They have a 36cm blade to it as well, so it's great for cutting large branches up to 30 centimeters long. Because it comes in 4 different tooth sizes, so it can cut anything down.
Yeah, so we've sort of done the little, musical cheers, or hands in this case, because we wanted to sort of put them in line for you. Shenae has...
So I have the fine tooth Big Boy, which is blue handle.
Actually, maybe we get a little bit closer.
So a fine tooth Big Boy, then a medium tooth Big Boy.
And I have the large and the extra large. So kind of exception to the rule, the 1, 2 and 3 straight blades, whereas number 4 here has a slight arc to the blade. So it's not like a full curve saw, but it's definitely not straight, so it's kind of a bit of an in-between. But otherwise tooth size, like Shenae said, we go fine, medium, large, extra large. So that's your major differences. Now, Big Boys down. Okay, so before we get into helping you figure out which of these 4 Big Boys you would want to choose, I want to talk about the sort of technical aspects behind it, what makes these so special and what basically, the reasons for why they cut so well and why they last and all that kind of stuff. So, let's pick yellow. So, actually no, that clashes with my screen now. Let's pick red. Okay, so... the company that make these is called Silky, and they're in Japan. They've been making saws since 1919, so nearly 100 years now. Prior to that, they have a very long metal history, so they have amazing technology and sort of pride in the products that they make and the quality of the metal that they produce for these saws. So you get the very, very best that technology allows, basically, and with that in mind, they've actually been sort of leaders in a lot of sort of new ideas and new forms of making and improving blades, so they're really quite amazing. So with this one product, the Big Boy, the handle here has got a bit of aluminium in it, which is beneficial because it makes it a lot lighter. So if you are, I don't know, mountain bike riding or hiking or
storing it in your backpack,
yeah, like survival where you carry it around, or even gardening and you want to hold it or put it in a little bag that you carry, the weight is important. So these are beautifully balanced so that they have strength to not break easily, but also light enough so that you don't have excess weight. The handle then is coated in this special sort of red colour here, but it's a rubber, it's called a gum rubber. It's patent to Silky, so you won't get it on any other hands, or even if you're told you will, you won't. But it's a really special rubber that absorbs vibration. So if you're using it a lot, and you're cutting something maybe quite big, you get that sort of feeling through the hands, and that can be uncomfortable for some people. So this rubber absorbs that, which is really, really nice, and just makes it feel more comfortable. You don't fatigue as easily. So really special rubber. And also the other cool thing is if you start sweating, it actually gets grippier, it doesn't get slippery, and that's really important because even though you should not put any pressure on the push, sometimes people do, and you don't want to be slipping down that handle because it will cut skin way easier than when you cut wood. So if it's going to cut a piece of wood, it will cut your hand really quickly. So the handle being really tacky and comfortable and good to hold and good grip is really important, and that's what these have. And even these little sort of indents you can see on the handle here, you might think that's just a sort of an aesthetic thing, they just wanted it to look pretty, but it's actually to help you have superior grip. So it sort of allows spots for the fatty part of your hand to sort of sit in and grip better. So, and also give it a bit of breathe, so again you don't sweat as badly. So they put a lot of thought into these, and those handles have those features. The other thing you may notice is there's a hole at the end of the handle there. And you can see we've stuck a bit of string through that so that we can remember which one's a demo and which one's one that you might want to buy. So we're not getting you second-hand ones. Don't mean that we won't accidentally do that one day. But anyway, that's what we've done with this hole. But you can put a D-clip through it or a carabiner if it fits, or even just a piece of ribbon or something so that you can hang it on something or you can hook it on something. So slight cut, don't know if you saw that, the coffee man came in and we kind of really needed coffee so we took it. So anyway, we're back. Okay, so that's the handle. Now how you go about putting the blade down and putting the blade up when you want to use it. So you would hold this saw if you want to close the blade, how you would if you were going to use it. So you can use this one-handed like so, or you can use it two-handed, which is quite cool because the handle is so long. It gives you plenty of room to put both your hands if you want to, and that would be if you're wanting to cut something really big like a fallen tree over the track or something. So two hands can go like that, or just the one hand, but as you were if you were holding it, just lift your thumb and press on the sleeve here. So you press down there. Now what it is, I don't know if you can see there, but there's a little line in that piece of metal, and that line hooks into these notches here. So you press that down, the line, piece of metal there, pops up into the air and allows you to pull that blade down, and it's this really like special little dance thing you do. You move your fingers around and then you put it down, and that way the blade sits nicely in the handle and not on the top of your fingers. So once again, to open it, you just pull it up, it will lock in. Press the little lever down and then pull the blade down, move the fingers and pop it away, and that's how you open and close a Big Boy. So it's the same with all four of them.
But you will notice when Jannita had it up in the air and she did have her thumb over it, because it feels much more comfortable if you do have your thumb there rather than your little forefinger, because it is out. See, it's annoying.
Really strong.
So you notice like it won't collapse down on your fingers anyway. You physically have to push it down, and like you said, move your little fingers and then pop it back straight into the blade. We have seen a few people say it's super awkward and you have to press this, and it's like, oh, it just drives me. Like, what are you doing? Silky saws are easy to use and easy to collapse. So it's simple as that, and you'll have a lifetime enjoyment with your saw.
Yeah, and if for some reason you do forget to move your fingers, you'll remember really quickly when the teeth hit the skin, because the little nerves will go, ow, and then you'll move your fingers out of the way. So it's all good. If for some reason when you press that lever it does start to swing, what that means is these screws are way too loose. So all you got to do is get a 10-cent piece, twirl it 1 or 2 times, and it'll be nice and snug again. Now, talking about the blade though, you may have noticed here there's actually 2 notches. So when you pull it up the first time, it locks into the first notch, but there is a second notch there, and all of the Big Boys have that second notch. So Shenae's going to move hers onto the second notch position.
The same way you close it, you lift it up and you just drag the blade up. So then it is
until it locks in?
Until it locks in. And then it is a flat surface. So if you are cutting on the flat surface, you don't have to...
Like the ground?
Like
and that case, like Shenae would have to dig a really big hole up into.
But you can set it on a flat floor, on a flat like floor, or say you are doing some carpentry work with the fine tooth, you have put it in the second position, and it just makes it so much easier. Sorry, this way makes it so much easier to just cut and feel like a breeze.
Yeah, and if you had one of the Big Boys that you wanted more for like multi-purpose, you might like to, I don't know, like build a shelter or something, and so that way you need a particular angle, otherwise you have to sort of put your body into some awkward position. Or sometimes there'll be a tree you might be pruning, like in a bush situation, let's say, and there's just one branch that's dead or dying, or for some reason you don't want it there, so you want to just take that one out. There sometimes might be another branch here that you want to leave in place, but the handle's in the way, basically. It's not allowing you to cut that branch behind the way you want to. So having that option of the second sort of setting can have you cutting still on the angle you want to cut, but with the handle up out of the way of the branch that you want to leave and not damage. So really handy option those 2 notches there. So 2 settings for all the big boys. Other technical things about it, if we move on to the blade's made from a really high carbon steel, which gives it strength, but it also gives it flexibility. So they're very flexible and therefore hard to break. Now that doesn't mean impossible to break. You know, you can break this in the first 5 minutes if you try. But they try and make it really, really hard for you to do it by giving that great flex. Now the interesting thing with steel is the more you flex it like that, the more brittle it will become, because every time it bends, the molecular structure of the steel changes and becomes a bit stronger and therefore more brittle. So you probably don't want to buy this one now that I've been doing this all morning.
Lucky
but
demo.
just to show you how it is designed to move, and they are supposed to be like that. They're not supposed to be really rigid, because you'll just snap it far too quickly and easily. But it is made out of that high carbon steel to give it that strength. They then coat it in chrome. Now they don't make them out of stainless because stainless is too soft and it just bends and will stay bent. So this is the perfect balance again of strength and flexibility, and then to give it that rust protection they put that chrome plating on it. Now again, unfortunately, we're based in Australia. Well, not unfortunately, it's beautiful, nice country. Unfortunate if you're steel though, because in Australia we have some of the harshest saps in the world and they will eat through every metal. In fact, I think there was a crew of European arborist sort of scientists that came over and tested the saps all over the world, and they tested Australia, and we won hands down with having the worst, most corrosive saps in the world. So very, very hard for any product to withstand cutting a tree in Australia and then being left to try and survive that experience. So chrome does give it the protection, but we still recommend you clean your big boy after you use it and then spray it with a lubricant. Something like a lanolin spray is brilliant, and then that way it'll stay looking like these demos. And these are not new demos. Like if Shenae holds this, I'll grab what a new big boy looks like so you can see even the colour difference. So this is a brand new big boy, so you can see this has got lots of our sweat and germs in it, no doubt. No, it's a bit dirt. But just to show you, this is not a new product by any means, but the blade is beautiful, shiny and rust free. But that's because we've cleaned it and we've lubricated it every time it's been used. So do that, and that will be what your big boy looks like for years and years.
So, when it comes to changing your blade,
No, I'm going to stop, Shenae. I haven't finished, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I want to give you like the full rundown on big boys today, so like the A to Z ins and outs. Shenae's just sick of me talking.
Oh.
Sorry, we're going to go for another few minutes. Okay, so I'll be quick. What else I wanted to say is, often people say to us, why Silky? What's the difference? Why don't I just buy any other brand that's out there? Well, it's that you get everything they can think of that you might want in this saw. So not only have we talked about steel, strong, good, protection from rust, you probably won't be able to see it in this picture, but if you look at a big boy close up, there's lines all down the blades like this, all the way down. And what that is hollow grinding. So they hollow grind those blades so that the fattest part of the blade, do this the right way, is the teeth. They're the biggest part, so they cut the hole, which is the big section. Then the next fattest part is the back of the blade, and the thinnest part is actually the center of the blade. So this section here is the thinnest part of the saw blade. So the reason for that is when you make a cut, the hole is substantially larger than the rest of the blade, and that's going to reduce your chance of pinching, and it's also going to make it feel a hang of a lot easier, because if this blade is rubbing against the wood that you're cutting, you're getting that friction and resistance, and it's going to feel like you're dragging it much harder. So that's why the big boys feel so easy to use, because they're sort of wriggling around in that hole, not rubbing against the sides of the wood, which is fantastic. And as I said before, reducing the chance of pinching that blade in the cut. And that's a biggie, because that's going to be challenging and time consuming and all that sort of stuff, and big chance of breaking blades when you get them pinched. So you don't want that to happen. The other thing is, these are not sharpenable. So a lot of people will ask us if they can sharpen them. So all four, even though you've got really big teeth with the yellow, you can't sharpen. What Silky have done is they've designed this more as a really convenient sort of to use at home, but also off track. So they don't want you mucking around with having to spend the time to sharpen these. They want them just to last a really long time. So what they've done is they've hardened just the tips of the teeth, so not the whole tooth, not the whole blade, just the very, very tips. And that gives you 3 times longer out of the blade than you would if they didn't do that process. So it saves you sharpening it 3 times basically, which is just great because you've got such a long life out of what you can do with those teeth. And now I'm doing Shenae's arms. But I think that is the technical things I wanted to talk about with Big Boy before I pass you over to Shenae. She can tell you how to change blades and what your options you have with blades. Over to you.
First, before I show you how to change your Silky Big Boy blade, whether it is blunt and you want to change it, put a new blade in, or you want to change the blades around, we're going to break down what each Big Boy is for. So
well, which one you want to buy basically, because they're great. We know you want to get one. Which one are you going to start with?
So you're in a shop and you've got a beautiful range of Big Boys there, but you are stuck thinking,
there's 4.
Which one?
I've only got one today.
So we're going with the fine tooth one. So where would you use the fine tooth one?
So the fine tooth is for anyone that wants to cut fibrous material. So say you've got palm fronds and that's your main purpose. You want to cut palm fronds up to make them smaller to fit in the green waste bin, or you just want to cut them off the tree. This is going to cut palm fronds really, really easily because of the fine teeth. It'll just dig through fibres really, really clean and quick. The other purpose for it would be bamboo. If you have bamboo and you want to cut that, also brilliant in a bamboo setting. Also good on small branches. So say you're a home gardener and you want a really good saw that will cut small branches, absolute maximum the size of this piece of wood we've got here, but more so like my fingers. This size tooth is brilliant. A lot of people think bigger is better because it's going to go faster. It's not the case with a saw. What happens when you use a finer tooth saw on a big branch is the teeth will get clogged, and if you use a big tooth saw on a fine branch, it's going to jump, and it always jumps on your fingers. I don't know why. But that's what it does. And we actually had our coffee man come in earlier and interrupt us, and I'm not sure if that was on the video or not, but he mentioned, because this saw is actually also very good for carpentry. So yes. He was saying, no, I gotta figure out if I can do this right. Oh yes.
Other way, yes.
That way. Okay, so apparently this is what a carpenter looks like when he orders, no, was it like that?
5 beers.
5 beers. 5 beers in the pub. So good at this joke. But I thought it was really good because it means he's got his fingers, and that's what's going to happen when you use the wrong size tooth cutting a branch. It's going to jump off the branch and land on your fingers. And truthfully, a Silky's probably not going to cut your finger completely off, but it's definitely going to leave a nice scar. And I've got one to prove it. So yeah, you want to make sure you've got the right size tooth when you're cutting, and the fine tooth is great for small branches, for fibrous stuff like palms and bamboo, and also lantana. And the other thing absolutely brilliant about any of the big boys is height. So you can be short or tall, but it allows you to have like nearly 3/4 of a metre extra reach. So it's great. You can reach higher things without having to get the ladder. Yeah, the roof's too short.
You get the point.
Yeah, so great for that. So that's what the fine tooth is for.
So, fine tooth done and dusted. Medium tooth. So that has...
My turn? Okay. So this one is brilliant as a bit of a general purpose. So say you go, oh, I don't know, I'm going to cut hard stuff, soft stuff, big stuff, little stuff, I'm not sure, not too big though. Well, it can be stuff because it can be bone, it can be wood, it can be plastic, it could be a little bit of anything. So this is a great general purpose. I really don't know, but I really want a saw that can go to both spectrums. This one will do it. Bearing in mind, if you are cutting bigger branches, it will take longer because the teeth are smaller. But you'll get away with cutting bigger green stuff because there's a bit more space so they won't get as clogged. But probably on the spectrum more for your smaller stuff. And it's kind of a get you out of jail card sort of saw because it will cope with everything but not be as good on the fibrous stuff as the blue and not as good as on the bigger stuff as the red or the yellow.
Easy peasy. Next one, the large tooth.
So this is great for the bigger branches. So you don't so much want to use this on your fibrous material. This is more for starting size of this branch down here. So 1.5 inches, 2 inches up. So you can cut up to 30 centimeters with this saw. Absolutely brilliant, and it'll work really well. Also, huge bonus is having a red handle. It means if you put it on the ground, you can see it, so you don't lose it as easy. So again, a home gardener can use this one, but it's more for your bigger branches. And also, the Big Boy happens to be one of my favourites, and I have it at home. I'm on 2.5 acres. And this morning I actually cut this branch so that we had it here, because we're going to do a bit of a demo later showing you how they cut. But one thing that it did sort of point out to me this morning when I was using it is, if you are a home gardener and you are buying a Big Boy as a saw to use around the yard, and even if you're a landscape gardener buying this saw, you really need to have a little saw as well. When I say little saw, I mean something like a little pocket boy, something like this. Now cost-wise, these guys are great. They're around $48, something like that, I think. But the reason you need a little saw as well as a big saw is, like when I was cutting this branch here this morning, I cut it right at the base, so this one actually grows out a few different stalks, and I really couldn't get more of the blade than about that long really into the space, so that was what I was using at the tip. When you do that, you've got a really high chance of snapping it, so you want to be really careful that you're not always using the tip of a saw, and if you are, it means you need a shorter saw. So it's much stronger when it's in a shorter form like that. So that's what I should have used this morning. Instead I used something like that, smaller tooth. But yeah, I absolutely love my Big Boy, wouldn't be without it, but you really do need a little one if you're in a home situation where you want a saw to sort of do everything you might want to do around the house or even in a landscape situation. So that's the red.
So pass it that one. And then it comes to the extra large tooth Big Boy.
Yeah, so this one's quite cool because it has got that slight slope to it, doesn't
the
it?
difference as well.
Yeah.
So I'll show you the difference between the straight line and then the slight curve as well. So you can see the difference. It's great, perfect for those outdoor adventures.
Yeah, so again, the colour of the handle's great, unless you want to go all, what do they call it, combat, hiding, that thing. Camo, that's the word. Start over the C sound. Then you might have to paint it. Anyway, we'll just get really dirty like us. But the benefit of the arced or the curved blade is it works really well on angles. So not so great straight in front of you, but if you're working on an angle, the curve works really well and digs into the timber really, really easily. Tooth-wise, again, a bit bigger than the red. So again, if you're cutting something really big, it's going to be faster and more efficient. So if your main purpose is, say, four-wheel driving, you want an alternative to a small chainsaw type saw, the Big Boy yellow is your way to go, or even the red if you don't like the arced handle. But yeah, definitely this one's not for little branches, for big branches, and brilliant. But yeah, not on hard dead wood. So if you're wanting to take some carpentry wood out and start cutting it, this is not going to be as joyous to use as the blue one.
Yes.
So yeah, I hope that's helped you. But the cool thing is with taking blades out is, as Shenae's going to show you, you can have a variety of them.